So, watching the videos, it talked about active learning and the importance of using active learning in your classrooms. And two of the major questions that came upon the video was, how do we engage students in active learning, and what is active learning? And in the video, it talked about how active learning can simply be more than just activities. So more than hands-on activities and hands-on experiences, much more than that. It's a deeper connection to what you're actually studying or teaching to your students. Students need to be mentally involved as well as physically involved, but active listening focuses on the mental aspect of students. In order to actively listen, you have to be mentally prepared and mentally engaged. So that's what the video was talking about. And then in order to become active learners, teachers have this model called authentic instruction, and it's 5 elements of authentic instruction. And with those 5 elements, teachers use to be able to make sure that their students are active learners and listeners. In the video, in the workshop video, the presenter had the teachers in the group K through 5, 5th grade, do a jigsaw activity. And this jigsaw activity is a type of cooperative learning. It's a formal cooperative learning. And so in cooperative learning groups, you want them to be heterogeneous. You want them to have face-to-face cooperation, positive interdependence, individual accountability. And so in the video, she modeled that like the teachers, you would have your students number off, and then they would go into a place with the people that have the same number as them, and they would go and talk about the specific part they have in the whole activity, and then they would get back with their original group, and then teach their part to their original group. And then you can conclude that activity with the quiz to check for understanding. The presenter also talked about having straightforward questions for the younger generation or the younger students. It's very essential to have straightforward questions. And then as they get older, you can have the more essential questions that are deeper, significant, and overarching questions. And then there are a lot of different questions to stimulate thinking. You have the essential questions, the clarifying questions, the organizing or planning questions, the probing questions, and the divergent questions, all which are important. So the clarification questions are to gain information. You ask your student clarification questions in order to gain prior knowledge from what they know. The organizing or planning questions is to establish a process, so your students can begin to think about how they will address this or how they would solve this problem or this equation specifically. Probing questions are the probing questions, I think, are the questions you ask before you ask your essential questions, because your probing questions, they're kind of help the students answer their essential questions because they're exploring this deeper understanding. So it's probing questions are those critical thinking questions to get their mind thinking. It's beyond those essential questions. And then you have the divergent questions that may have more than one right answer, but they're going to have more than one answer. So in the video, she shows them like different scenarios, And it was like different teachers using the different questions to simulate and also authentic instruction. So in the first video, it was a project called Celebration of Light. And the teacher, the first grade teacher, she was talking about different holidays such as Christmas and Kwanzaa. And she was asking her students, what do all these holidays have in common? And the students were telling her that they were all involved light. And so she was asking her students, I wonder why. Why would they celebrate? Why would all these holidays be celebrated light? Why would they all celebrate one thing? And so one of the little girls said that because it's December and it's cold, and so her exact words were the night comes earlier and it's not that much light out. So these holidays have a lot of light because it's darker and colder. And so then she talks about how she wanted, so in the group she has the students tiptoe. She has one student tiptoe to turn off the light. They all get in the circle. And she has a flashlight, and then she has a globe. And she talks about how the earth revolves around the sun. And then she has each student hold the earth with both hands and revolve around her because she's holding the flashlight, which considers the sun. And she talks about she wants them to have hand-on experience because they need to experience the concept. She says it's the broadest ideas that the sun and that the earth rotates itself and then it revolves around the sun. But if they can get that the earth revolves around the sun and that understand that concept, then they'll be able to understand others. Then we go into a fourth grade classroom that's talking about the state of government, how bills become laws. And one thing that really that I liked about it was that the teacher used a visual. And in the visual, it had the steps laid out very simple and plain for the students. And then they created flip books. Well, I have never heard of flip books, so I was really intrigued about it. And I like how she said flip books give them a visual to tie back into the visual that she made. But it also showed that how she did also authentic instruction and essential questions because she connected it to the real world. So that connective piece was there. She also it was a lot of social interaction. They had to talk and help their partners out if they needed help to help them. She also allowed the students she wanted the students to write down but more than one sentence. She wanted them to really explain the step and to draw a picture, an illustration of it. So they had to go one more step in to the project. It was like you had to write down the step, but that's simple to write down the step. Then she wanted her students to take it even a step further to even draw what they wrote down. So they really had to understand what they wrote down in order to be able to draw a picture of that. And then there's this other group, this teacher, he had his students doing a group project on the explorers of North America. And so he had them creating a time wheel. And I never have seen a time wheel before. So that was really interesting because it was a circle that the kids made, and then it's like, how can I describe it? It's like those spinners and the Game Boys, the little spinners that you spin around. It was something of that nature, something of that design. And it was really cool because they had different parts and then they had different explorers. But it was also based on 2 books. So that was really cool to see. I think those scenarios that I've seen in the video are worthwhile to learn for every classroom because it gives students a different perspective on things. For example, like in the state of government, the bill to law project, it really got the students thinking about things in their community, things that they can see change. It got them thinking about processes and steps and how to evaluate things. And any kid can benefit from learning about processes and steps and how things go through things, learning the process of things, because they'll be learning processes throughout their lives. So that was very important. Also, the celebration of light group, the first grade teacher that was talking about light and the different holidays and how all the holidays had in common and the reason for that. It's great for that because it ties in two different things. Like kids know about holidays, but they didn't like it gives them a new perspective on things. So it's very eye opening for children. I think everybody can benefit for it because it's like, oh, I never thought about that. Like it just makes it broadens their horizons. I'll say that. I think teachers being aware of the culture around them and the different cultures that are in their classroom helps them be able to respond to different things or how to teach different lessons. It gives them more tools and more guides to be able to so that every culture in the classroom can understand, but it won't offend anybody else. It doesn't leave any other culture in that classroom outside. So, and the videos and the scenarios taught me about active listening. It really taught me that it's more than hands-on activities. It's more than just hands-on experiences. It's having your students mentally involved. They could be physically involved in the activity and not be there mentally. So it's important. Active listening is important for us to have students mentally engaged and mentally involved, as well as physically involved as well. I think that's very important to me because I never thought about the mentally aspect of the importance of being an active listener or active learner. I just know you had to listen and do the activity. So I find that very important and interesting and intriguing that you need to be mentally there as well. And that's what I took away from the whole video about active listening and active learner.